Hello, and before we get into this episode, first, a huge shout out to my boys, Randrake22, MT, Omer TV, and Drew Holman. That's a weird name. For completing my interactive YouTube video game I made a couple weeks ago. And if you want to play it, link in the description as well as an annotation at the end of this video. Anyway, back to your regularly scheduled programming. Welcome to another episode of Game Over, where these glasses are not my prescription, so I can't see a thing, and this paper just has a picture of a mummy on it. And that fits, because today we are talking about monsters. Not just monsters, movie monsters. Not just movie monsters, Universal Studios movie monsters. And not just—
Get on with it, you hack!
Today we're going to be talking about Universal Studios making their own Avengers out of classic movie monsters. Okay, let me explain. So, the cinematic universe is becoming really popular, starting with Marvel making their Avengers, moving on to DC, and even some studios who don't make superhero movies are getting in that sweet superhero action. For example, the latest King Kong movie and the latest Godzilla movie are going to start a series of movies that will end in them battling in a fight of wits and riddles. I'm just kidding. They're gonna blow up cities, knock down buildings, just kill a whole bunch of people. But even Universal Studios is throwing their proverbial hat into the mix, but because they don't have rights to any significant superheroes, they are going to be resurrecting their classic movie monsters. So think Frankenstein, Dracula, a creature of the Black Lagoon, Invisible Man, Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, Wolfman, and all of these are being spearheaded by The Mummy, starring Tom Cruise and a pile of toilet paper. And it looks really good. They already have an all-star cast to play a lot of their monsters. With this new movie having Tom Cruise, there's also going to be Johnny Depp playing the Invisible Man, rumors of Dwayne Johnson playing the Wolfman, Russell Crowe playing Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, and I'm really excited about it. But as I thought about it more and more, I wondered, why don't we see many monster movies anymore? What makes a monster movie? What's the difference between a monster and a villain? Well, to me, a villain doesn't always have a set agenda. You don't always know what their plan is or why they're doing it. In fact, heck, a lot of the time you don't know who the villain is till halfway through the movie. But a monster, you know what they're doing and you know why they're doing it. They're doing it because they are hungry, because they are vengeful, because they are doing evil for the sake of evil itself. And monsters also typically follow a series of rules. For example, vampires are allergic to garlic and sunshine. And werewolves are allergic to a stake driven through their heart, like every other living creature. So as I thought about that more and more, I want to analyze my top 5 favorite movie. We don't have enough in the budget for 5 movie monsters, so I'm going to be analyzing my top 4 favorite movie monsters. Let's get rolling. Starting with Jurassic Park, one of my all-time favorite movies. It revolutionized the special effects industry because it was one of the first movies to use CGI. It also used many practical effects, making the dinosaurs seem so realistic and, to a kid in the 90s, horrifying. But I wasn't afraid of the Team Rex as much as I was of the Velociraptors. Now, I believe that every movie, every good movie, shouldn't just be about its characters and the stuff they go through, but about some overarching story or moral as a whole. For example, in Jurassic Park, it seems to be a lot about this battle between technology versus nature. That man trying to desperately control nature, even though
life finds a way.
Dang it, Malkovich! I had momentum going. I was gonna say the line. I set it up. Then you just. Anyway, the reason I'm talking about this and why Velociraptors are a scary movie monster is because of this scene right here.
You sure the thermite's contained?
Yes. Unless they figured out how to open doors.
Now, when I first saw that as a kid, it filled me with dread, because it ties into the moral I was talking about before. Humans thinking they have control over nature. We have for thousands of years. We didn't get to the place where we are because we are the fastest or the strongest or the best at hiding, but because we can take a look at a rock and a stick and make a weapon. Because imagination is our greatest tool against the outside world. In this scene, we are shown that that is thrown all out of whack. That scientists use dino DNA to bring dinosaurs back to life, only to have those dinosaurs turn on them, showing them how fragile humans are, and maybe we are not at the top of the food chain like we thought we were. Not only is this dinosaur super strong and fast, it is smart as well. Now, it isn't gonna solve any theoretical physics here, but it shows us that we thought we had control, that we thought we could just lock them into one of our human buildings, that they will get out, because they are stronger than us, smarter than us, better than us. And we are stuck on an island with no one coming to rescue us, and that is horrifying. Moving on! To Jaws, from the movie Jaws. A movie not created because people were afraid of sharks, but a movie that created the fear of sharks. I mean, any monster movie that could change a whole cultural view of that monster species must have horrifying and realistic effects, right? Nope. The least scary parts of the movie Jaws was when you actually saw Jaws as this rubbery sack of fiberglass and styrofoam. I mean, my Christopher Walken impression is more real than that. I'm walking around because I'm Christopher Walken. I can't do it. The point being, you don't actually see Jaws that much in the movie. He's usually just a shape in the shadows, just right outside of frame, because he's implied horror. For example, in one of the very first scenes, we see this girl who's being eaten by Jaws screaming and thrashed about in the water, but we don't see the shark at all. He's, again, just right outside of frame, again, implied horror. Because humans are not afraid of the dark. We are afraid of what might be in the dark. When we're deprived of one of our senses, like sight, our brain imagines the most horrifying thing it can, just to compensate and to keep us safe. And filmmakers tap into that, because they know that no matter how scary and how horrifying and realistic they make their monster in the movie, it isn't nearly as scary as the one that you make in your own mind. Moving on to zombies. Now, I don't have a particular movie to go with zombies, but they are arguably the most popular movie monster in the last decade alone. But if you think about it, zombies shouldn't actually be that scary. They are just a human with everything dangerous and everything good taken out. They are not fast, they are not strong, they are not smart by any means. A bear is much more dangerous than a zombie, but yet a movie about a horde of bears taking over a city isn't nearly as scary as a movie about a horde of zombies taking over a city. Why is that? Well, let's take a look at the three most popular movie monsters: werewolves, vampires, and zombies. Starting with werewolves, they are these ravenous, carnivorous beasts, nearly indestructible with no emotion or feeling, but only once a month. Every other day of the month, they're just a regular old Joe. Now moving on to vampires, which are vampires all the time, however, they can still talk and think and feel and act human in that way. But a zombie has no aspect of humanity. Every emotion, every feeling, everything is gone. The only thing on their brains is brains. Because that is what we are afraid of, losing our humanity. The one thing that all those monsters have in common is they don't necessarily kill you. They make you one of them. It just takes one bite from a werewolf, one bite from a vampire, one bite from a zombie to become a shambling, living dead. Because when a horde of zombies is coming at you, you aren't afraid of much as being torn apart and killed as you are of being bit and turning into them. Admitting to yourself that the only thing that makes you you is your imagination, your wonder, your thoughts, your feelings. Because all you are is just a sack of shambling bones and flesh. That just got really dark. And we'll talk more about zombies in a little bit. But first, let's move on to Weeping Angels. Now, okay, Weeping Angels aren't a movie monster. They're from the TV series Doctor Who, and admittedly, the most popular monsters from that show are a glorified trash can and an action figure. But Weeping angels are so scary because of one thing: control. Or at least the illusion that we have control. Now, if you don't know what a weeping angel is, let me explain it to you. Weeping angels are these incredibly fast, incredibly strong, and incredibly smart creatures that will kill you just by touching you. Well, okay, they feed off of your time energy by sending you back in time, but timey-wimey Doctor Who time travel stuff. Basically, they kill you by touching you. Except, they don't move when you look at them. When you're looking at them, they just become a stone statue. Now imagine that same creature I just described, but it could move when you looked at it. It would be like 100 times more dangerous. You wouldn't last a second, and yet it's still a little less scary. Why is that? Because it's the illusion of control. When a horde of zombies is coming at you, you know what they're going to do, and you know when it's going to happen. It's the tension, suspense that builds that makes it scary. But with a weeping angel, you know what's going to happen, and you know it is going to happen. But you don't know when, because it is you in control. It just takes you 1 second to look away or to blink, and then you're dead. And another thing horrifying about weeping angels is just like what we talked about with Jaws. They're a monster that is unseen. Literally, you cannot see them move. Now, when you look at them, you do see the monster, but they're just a statue. They don't look real, they don't look animate. But it's when you're looking away that the monster really comes to true form. So everything about them has to exist in your imagination, which makes them horrifying, scary, and beyond your control. Even though you think you control them, you can just look at them. There's one behind you that you have to look at too, which means there is no way you could keep them off for forever. You have to blink eventually. When it happens, they will get you, and they will kill you. Now, admittedly, the current movie monsters are different than the old classic movie monsters. For example, the original Mummy, the plot wasn't that when Prince Imhotep rose from the grave that he would take over the world. In the original plot, the first thing he did was try to revive his dead girlfriend just so he could be with her. In Frankenstein, when he killed a little girl, he did it by accident. He didn't know his own strength. He was still coming to terms with what life really was. Everyone that he looked at just screamed and ran away, calling him a monster. A wise man once said that a movie monster, a good movie monster, doesn't just make you fear it, but make you fear for it. In all of those movies I just described, in all of the old classic Universal Studios monster movies, the monster either didn't know what they were doing, thought they were doing the right thing, or were just following the path that nature intended for them. In Jaws, you don't hate Jaws. You hate the mayor that kept the beaches open, despite the fact that people had been eaten by sharks earlier that week. In Jurassic Park, you don't hate the dinosaurs. You hate the guy that shut down the security measures, preventing the dinosaurs from eating people, just so he can make a quick buck off of a rival company. Because monsters are a victim, just like any of us. They can't help what they do, because a good monster movie shows the monster in each of us. Our greediness, our selfishness, our desire to be in control. That's what makes a good movie. Oh, that sort of got depressing right there at the end. Anyway, thank you so much for watching this episode of Game Over. I hope you like this new background I got here. Now that I'm in Georgia, I'll be making more videos, and I have a new fancy thing here. But anyway, thank you so much for watching this episode of Game Over. Click right here to subscribe, click right here to play the video game I talked about, and right here to watch another video. Thank you so much for watching, and have a fantastic day. And remember, don't blink. Don't look away. Blink and you're dead. Good luck.